Hello, guys. I have a little bit of time today, so I wanted to kind of discuss a question that I get from folks once in a while. I wouldn't think it would happen regularly, but it actually does. And the question is, Greg, if I have a lump sum of cash, can I contribute that into the TSP? Right. So I talked to a few people. Either they've maybe sold a large asset like a home and they get a windfall of cash, maybe get an inheritance, and the tax has been taken out. And people ask, Greg, I have this cash. I want to be smart about managing it. They don't want to have a situation where it sits in a checking account, kind of burning a hole in their pocket, and they end up spending it on stuff that they regret. So they want to invest it, and they want to invest it for retirement. So they say, Greg, given this cash, can I dump it in the TSP, and from there then buy an investment fund like the C fund, S fund, and whatnot? And the answer to that is no, you can't, right? So you can't get a lump sum of cash from your checking account, dump it in the TSP, and invest it. And there are a few different reasons why, but to make it simple, the reason why is because the only money you can put into the TSP is the money that either has come from your paycheck, so I call it paycheck money, contribute to the TSP, or let's say from a previous employer, you've had a 401k, 403b, and roll it into the TSP, or if you have an outside traditional IRA. But bottom line, those are other things that you can do, but what you can't do is get a lump sum of cash and put it in. But one of the things I tell the people I work with, and there are a few different strategies, kind of the recommendation that that people are looking for is like, okay, well, if I can't put into the TSP, what is a way that I can invest it for retirement? And some of the ideas that I share with them, again, different options might make different people feel comfortable. Some people might not be comfortable. So I just want to talk about a few things today that you could do with the lump sum of cash, right? And I'll start with a, fairly small, in terms of the people I talk to, right? Something like maybe $5,000 to $15,000. What are some of the things that you could look at, some of the options you have? Or if it's a large amount of money, the last person I talked to had $150,000 and they wanted to invest it for retirement. And how can we get that money to the TSP? Okay, so let me first start with someone who maybe has $5,000 to $15,000 in a checking account, and what can they do, and what is the roundabout? I call it a roundabout way of contributing to the TSP. Okay, so let's say you have some folks, and in their checking account, right? In their checking account, they can have anywhere, 5 to 15K, all right? And then you have your TSP count over here, right? Now, for the year of 2024, for people under 50 years old, the maximum amount of money you could fit in there, you could stuff $23,000 a year, and sorry, this is just off the cuff. People with a catch-up provision, it used to be 30,000. I think it's 30,500. But please don't quote me on that, guys. Look that up. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance before this video to look it up, but regardless, this is 2024 numbers, right? So we can't get money from our checking account and put into the TSP, right? What usually happens is you get your money from your bi-weekly paycheck, and I call this my pay money. Why? Just because, that's the website we use to manage our income on a bi-weekly basis, and we usually change the amount of money flowing into the TSP, right? So usually this is the way you flow into your TSP, okay? Now another thing, so what I tell people, since you can't take money from your checking and roll into the TSP, how can we get more cash into the TSP? And this is one of the roundabout techniques I tell people, right? So for example, let's say you have 5,000. One of the things is, if you want to invest something like 5,000 for retirement, one of the options is, let's look at another type of retirement account you can put it into. Okay, so for example, something around 5,000. I have videos on this. Right. So the TSP, a 401k account, is usually connected to a person who works for an employer who kind of sponsors that account, right? That's how they do the match and all that, right? Blah, blah, blah. But there are additional other types of retirement accounts out there that you and me as American citizens or working citizens in America can contribute to. And they're smaller accounts. One is the traditional IRA, one is the Roth IRA. Okay. Now these retirement accounts, the maximum allowable contributions are a lot less than a 401k, right? These are the maximums for the 401k. And the traditional IRA, Roth IRA, every year, it's up to, I think it's 7,000, for example. And now which one you should put it into really depends on your salary, your modified gross income. I have another video out there for IRAs for high earners. Look at that video to see if you cross that threshold line, and where to put it in. So if you have something like $5,000, what you can do is you can contribute it. For example, let's say this is one of our social workers or our psychologists. You're a high earner, but you're still below the threshold of, I think, 152,000. I forget what the max is. You could actually get $7,000 a year, something like that. Check the maximums for the year which you're watching this video, and contribute. Let's say we're going to contribute $7,000, right? We're going to contribute that straight to a Roth IRA. You can put that 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 maximum a year into the Roth IRA. And then from that Roth IRA account, you can buy depending on your situation, an investment fund so you can get your money working, right? You know, most people that I get to talk to, you get to know real quick, one of my favorite funds to invest in is the S&P 500, right? And you could look into that if you're not familiar with it. So that's what I would do. I would get that $5,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, dump it to a Roth IRA, and as soon as the cash lands in the account the very next day, buy an S&P index fund, right? Depending on the company you go with, these you usually open up through a brokerage company. You know, my family, we put our money in either Schwab, Fidelity, or Vanguard, right? And from there, depending on the account it goes into, I would buy maybe a Vanguard S&P 500 fund or a Schwab S&P 500 fund, right? Something like that. Same thing with Fidelity, right? So you can invest your cash there. In the Roth IRA, some of you've watched my videos before, you know the Roth IRA is going to grow tax-free for the rest of your life and compound that way. But it's a way to kind of get some of that cash, right? Now, if you have a larger amount, maybe you have more than seven, let's say you have 15,000, what you could do is maybe continue to do this and do it for different years. So maybe this is for 2023, and then the rest of the money, put it in for 2024, right? So this is for 2023, maybe put the rest in 2024, right? Maybe do another 7,000. So now you're up to 14,000, 15,000. Again, look at the annual limits for your age, because there's people under 50, then there's catch-up provision. So take a look at that, but you can see how those moderate amounts of cash you could dump in there for the different years. I'm shooting this video, it's actually the day before Thanksgiving, everyone's gone, so I'm talking to myself in the building. But again, right now, technically, if you were working on the strategy, you could dump in some money. I think for 2023, I think the maximum is 6,500. Let me correct that, right? So it's 6,500 for that year. And then, yeah, come the first week of January, dump another 7,000 for 2024, right? Again, wait for the cash to land in the account, then buy the index fund, mutual fund, or whatever investment you like, right? So that's ways you could do that, right? Directly there, and then still, yeah, contributing to the TSP with your paycheck money, right? So that's one option that you have. Now, another thing that I would tell people, let's say you have a larger amount. So let's say you have a larger amount of money that you want to invest, and what are some other ways that you can do that, right? So let's up this checking account number, right? So let's say you're someone with a significant amount of money, maybe 50,000 to, I don't know, let's say 150,000, okay, right? You know, maybe you have 150,000, maybe you sold your house, you had a large amount of equity in the house, but you got some good tax exemptions because you're married, or, you know, So you have 50,000 cash, or maybe you inherited a little bit of money. So what can you do with that? All right. Now, can you still get portions of this money and dump it into a Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs? Yes, you can. Okay. You can certainly do that. Matter of fact, the Roth IRA is my favorite account for investing out there. So I would definitely try to maximize the amount of money I can get from these balances and dump into the account. But over here we're looking in or around $14,000-$15,000 in the span of 1 or 2 years, right? So that's still going to leave a lot of cash on the table that is not working, right? And if you're like me, you don't like cash sitting. You like putting cash to work, right? So yes, you can certainly do that. Now another thing that you can do is, for example, if you're already contributing the maximum amount of money to your TSP, you're getting $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 dumping into Roth IRAs. Another thing that you can do, and try to track with me here, guys. Sorry, the arrows are going to get crooked. There's another kind of account that you can invest, you can open up, and that's called a brokerage account. Right? Let me just, for the sake of writing this down, I'll talk about that too, right? Because a lot of the folks I work with, they also want to save money for their kids. So one of the things that you could also do is dump some of this cash in a brokerage account. Now, a brokerage account, it's more of a true investment account, meaning it's meant for a lot of movement and whatever. It's not designed, it has no tax advantages like our these retirement accounts, like a 401k and an IRA. But it is an account you can invest your money. You can buy all types of investments, and if you make, you buy, let's say you buy some stocks or you buy some mutual funds or bonds, and you make a little bit of profit, capital gain. People in my class call it profit, capital gains, interest, right? That kind of commingle the terminology. Well, whatever kind of gain you make, you will pay taxes on those gains once you sell and you get the cash out. But the interest rate in which you pay is a whole lot less than you pay on the income you make in your paycheck. You'll pay what is called capital gains tax, right? So if you buy, for example, let's say we had some money here, right? By the way, the good thing about the brokerage account, it is unlimited. I mean, you can go into the brokerage account today and drop 10 million in there if you want it, right? So there is no maximums. That's one of the positives. But let's say we were to get some money from that checking account and dump it into a brokerage, right? Let's say we have the 150K, you dump 50,000, 60,000, whatever, all entire 100,000 in there. Whatever you buy in that brokerage account, if you hold that investment, let's say you bought Amazon stock, or let's say you bought more of the S&P 500 index, right? That's what I would do in there. And let's say you hold it 5, 10 years, whatever, and then you sell it, you make a profit, you make a capital gain. The taxes you're gonna pay is called capital gains tax, which if you hold that investment for over 1 year, right, it's probably, I think at this time, 15% taxes, right? Versus if you sold that in, if you made that money, you might pay your income tax bracket level of whatever it may be, right? 22, 24, 30, 35, whatever your tax bracket is. So it's a lot higher. So that's one of the advantages of there. Now, if you buy an investment, stock, bond, mutual fund in a brokerage account, and you hold it for less than a year before you sell it, less than a year, that you'll be paying essentially what is called short-term capital gains tax, which is equivalent to your ordinary income, which is usually higher, right? Higher if you're earning in the 24 to 30%, right? So you definitely want to hold it over a year to reap the tax benefits, okay? So that's another thing you could do with your cash to invest your money, get it working. And yeah, can you pull it out of there next week? Yeah, you can. Can you pull it out in 2 years, 1 year, 2 years? Yeah. Can you leave it in there for 30 years? Yeah, you could do that too, right? A lot more flexibility. Little bit of tax treatment, right? You pay capital gains versus real income, which is lower, and that's good. So that's another place where you could put your money and invest it, buy an investment product, get your money working. Another thing you could do in your checking, right, is most people I talk to, right, if they have children or maybe nieces and nephews that they want to support them for college one day, you could put some money in a 529 plan. Okay? So this is another option. 529 plan, what essentially is, it functions like a Roth IRA, means you dump cash in there, the cash has already been taxed somehow, some way, income tax, estate tax, whatever. But if you invest it within the 529, you buy an investment fund like the S&P index or whatnot. When it grows tax-free, so long as when you pull the money out, you use it for education-related expenses, right? So it's known as a really great college plan for your kids, right? So again, you could put that money in, invest it, it's gonna grow and compound. Let's say your kid is, your kid is 3, they start going to college when they're 18, right? So you can get that money's gonna compound over those years, right? By the way, look up a 529 plan expenses. I believe now, I don't have those details off the top, I believe you can cover private school and high school, the expenses associated with room and board in college, but you look up the details, guys. It's really great plans. Matter of fact, if you really want to dump into this right now, Google the best 529 plans. They're usually sponsored by states, but no matter what state you live in, you can buy or contribute to a 529 plan in any other state. And then from there, they also have, and the reason why it's sponsored by state, because there's some state tax exemptions that they offer, some tax advantages as well. So it's really good for education. Now, another thing that a new law that just passed, I don't know if they've actually rolled it out yet. What they're allowing is, let's say you save $30,000, and I know this is not a video on 529 plans. Let's say you have $30,000 in there and your child only ends up using $20,000, right? So you have $10,000 balance left in there. You might be worried, oh, now that money's trapped in there, my kid's done going to school. You could pull the remaining money out of there, cash, and go use it for wherever you want. But what you'll do at that point is you'll pay taxes on the gains that you made from the money you put in there, right? So you won't pay taxes on the contribution, but you'll pay taxes on the gains that you made while you're in there. But another really good option that they're giving to you for this now, I'm sorry if I'm going on a rabbit hole, is now they're giving you the ability, if your child has money left over in that account, they can roll it over into their Roth IRA. Okay, there's some stipulations, so read the rules. Read the rules. Google 529 rollover to a Roth IRA. I think the account has to be active for at least 15 years. You can only roll over the annual maximum for Roth IRAs every year. But essentially, what you're doing, the kid graduated from school, no longer has expenses, so whatever money's left kind of gives them a kickstart on saving for retirement one day. Okay, so that's a pretty good option. But yeah, so that's another thing you could do with the cash that you have to save for retirement or, family planning and, and education planning. But keep that in mind. All right. Now, the last option I want to show you is if you have a windfall of cash, maybe you don't maximize the TSP contribution. And what can you do, right? So let me erase this up and then we'll kind of go through that. All right, guys, I'm sorry, this thing is a train wreck. I'm just shooting this video on the fly, so there's not a lot of planning going into it, but I thought I'd share this, all right? So guys, let's say you have an employee and what the employee does right now, right? Maybe they're not earning a lot, or maybe they just haven't been contributing a lot, and their contribution from their paycheck to the TSP is the typical 5%, right? This is most federal employees. They contribute 5% so they can get the 5% match and all is good in the world, right? But let's say they have a windfall of cash. One of the other things that they could do, this is a roundabout way of contributing money to your TSP and increase cash into your TSP, is also consider this. One of the other things that you do with your money out of your paycheck is you pay your monthly bills, right? So your monthly bills, these are systematic expenses that come in, right? Your utilities, your subscriptions, your insurance, blah, blah, blah. You usually pay your monthly bill with that money, right? And let's say, for example, the amount of money we spend in monthly bills, just for round numbers here, let's say, we'll keep it conservative, let's say it's around $3,000, right? So you pay your monthly bills, $3,000 straight from your paycheck money. You also contribute 5% for the TSP, but you have this large amount of cash that came into your life, right? Now, you cannot put this cash straight into TSP, but what I tell people is, one of the things you could do to put that money into TSP is, instead of, what we can maybe do, right, is live on this cash and increase the amount of money we put in the TSP, right? So what we would do is, we would increase this. Let's say we up this to 15%, right? But because we have less money going to, we have more money going to the TSP, right? We use this slowly to pay for our monthly bills, right? So essentially, the paycheck money that would have been paying for your monthly bills, you're gonna shut that faucet off, that's the expression I use, and increase the amount of money flowing to the TSP from your paycheck. And all the meanwhile, how are we gonna live every month? Well, we slowly spend down this cash to pay our bills, right? So we get money from our checking account and pay our utilities and whatnot, right? And you can continue to do this as this balance goes down. As this balance goes down paying your bills, the amount of money you're dumping in the TSP is rapidly growing because you increase the percentage. Now, you do have to pay attention. You do your math, you do your planning, you look on your calendar, you set your alerts, because once you deplete this cash, spending it on bills, then at that time you might reassess how much money is going in the TSP, and then you might have to bring this back down to earth if you can't afford to sustain that 15%. I hope that makes sense, right? So, yeah, you would pay this down in your monthly bills slowly down while increasing your paycheck money going into TSP. And again, I don't want to say you would automatically turn the faucet off or reduce it. What I would say is, when you're creeping up on this money being gone because you're spending it down on paying your bills, reassess your life. Who knows? This might take a few years, right? In that time, you might have got a raise, blah, 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 cost of living adjustments. Maybe you have other investments that have skyrocketed, right? Maybe you're a veteran who, you got some service-connected disability coming into your life now, right? So that's able to help sustain your bills. Who knows? You might end up just leaving your TSP at the 15% or increasing it all the way to the maximum contribution, right? So again, that's something you could do. And again, if you're not paying it fast enough down your bills, hey, there's no reason why, again, why you can't get some of this money and put it in a Roth IRA too, right? So this is cash that can go into your Roth IRA. You have more cash, you could use that to sustain your monthly bills. In the meanwhile, your monthly stream of your paycheck money, you increase the TSP. Okay? So and I call that the roundabout way of contributing to the thrift savings plan, all right? Now guys, this is just an example of that concept. Some of you might even say, well, why don't I just use that to even pay down my home loan or my student loans? That way, if my home loan is a 5% interest rate and I'm paying it down, right, I'm making an automatic 5% rate of return on that. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly a good argument for that. So keep that in mind. This is just another simple strategy you could use to, again, survive on your cash while increasing your contributions to the TSP, while also still putting some cash in a Roth IRA. So you have two retirement accounts that you are building. They are invested, right, because you're buying an investment fund, so the money is compounding, while you're still taking care of your monthly bills, okay? So guys, that's just a strategy. I apologize that it's a little bit more informal and a little bit more loosey-goosey, but I just hope I plant a seed with you so that you could think about that. Are there other strategies you could certainly do by building on this? Absolutely. Talk to your friends, talk to other people that are really smart with money, get their ideas. By the way, guys, if you have those ideas, please, I would love to hear them. No one knows everything. So whatever your strategies are, I'd love you maybe put in the comments of this video, email them to me. A lot of you reach me offline. I'd love to hear about them. All right. So with that said, guys, happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.